In our last 3 sessions, we discussed a letter from a woman who took issue with my saying, if you're unhappy in a relationship, you're always wrong. I told her that happiness is our primary goal in life. So when we make any choice that detracts from that goal, when we do anything that leads away from happiness, we're wrong. That's what I meant by my original statement. But I also added that most of us make unhappy choices because we simply can't see how to make better ones. Now, back to the writer of the letter. In our first session, I said that the statement, when we're unhappy, we're wrong, is right but incomplete. That's because there is more than one kind of unhappiness, and some kinds don't involve our being wrong at all. We'll call these innocent forms of unhappiness. I don't propose here to give an exhaustive treatise on the subject, but let me talk a little bit about a couple of the kinds of innocent unhappiness. The first kind I'll mention is simple pain. For example, a friend of mine was once driving on his way to work when another driver, who apparently had enjoyed a full breakfast of Jack Daniels, crossed several lanes of traffic, coming and going, and plowed into my friend's car. This resulted in the destruction of my friend's car and considerable damage to his body as well, which caused him a lot of physical pain for some time. Although the accident did not make him a bitter person, the pain he experienced still occasionally had a negative effect on his happiness. Because he didn't do anything wrong to cause this, this would be an exception to the statement, when we're unhappy, we're wrong. Another kind of innocent unhappiness is sadness for the pain of another person or thing. For example, just the other day, my wife and I were driving in a parking lot when just 20 feet away, a dog darted out onto the adjacent road where he was hit by an oncoming car. Even saying it, all these days later, makes me cringe. The impact knocked the dog over and spun him around. He cried like a baby, limped over to the side of the road, and began to lick his wounds. It was pretty obvious that he'd broken his leg, injured his back, and possibly suffered internal injuries since he had a little blood coming from his mouth. We stopped, called 911. I didn't know who else to call for an animal problem. I didn't have dog 11 on my speed dial. And then we waited for animal control to show up. In the meantime, Donna and I patted and held the dog, who seemed to enjoy the attention quite a bit. The point is, when that dog was hit, and while he was crying and limping and whimpering in our arms, I was not happy. I was really sad that he was in pain. And yet, I didn't do anything wrong to cause my unhappiness. Again, an exception to the general statement that we've been discussing. So, why do I tend to make the blanket statement that when we're unhappy in a relationship or situation, we're wrong? Because the greatest source of confusion and misery in this world comes not from these exceptions to the rule. Overwhelmingly, our unhappiness comes from the choices we make. And it is these choices we need to focus on. Hence the importance, when we're unhappy, of looking first to ourselves for the cause and the solution, rather than blaming everyone and everything else around us, as is our general habit. As we work at making loving choices, we will change our own lives, our immediate relationships, and quite literally, the world around us. That is the power of real love and of taking responsibility for our own choices.